I first got involved with Love Inc. Because I was starting to read things about Jesus wanting us to reach out to the poor and the needy in the community, or how his heart was geared toward that. And so I started feeling like I need to get outside the doors a little bit of my school and my church. And I don't remember how, but I heard something about Love Inc. And I thought, that's exactly what I'm thinking about. Not long after that, our school had a Winona field day, and I was talking to a teacher about that. I mentioned Love Inc., asking if she knew anything about it, and she said, well, there's Bill Roberts right over there. So I went and talked to Bill, and we talked a little bit more. That summer, I called in to see if they needed any summer volunteer. So that's how it all got started. I started out in the summer, I think because they knew me a little, they took a chance and let me do some intakes with on-the-ground training, which is calling people who have called in to say they have a need. Then we would call them back and just find out more about them, what their needs were, and just to get a sense of their situation a little bit more. So I did that for a couple summers. I have played piano for some events. One summer I did clarifications with another volunteer, where after the interview, the two volunteers would go in somebody's house and see what the situation was. How many steps were there into the house? How big was the door? Pray with them, maybe just get to know them a little bit better. Then I took the Redemptive Compassion class, or that might have been before, anyway, and began volunteering on Thursday nights as a spiritual friend. A spiritual friend is a one-on-one, ongoing relationship with a neighbor where you are basically a friend, an encourager to that person, a cheerleader. If they set goals in their classes, which the classes do recommend that they set goals for life change, then we are meant to come alongside and encourage and listen and pray for. I gain from their perspective, their different life experience. It is certainly not a one-way street, and hopefully they gain something from mine. And it's all confidential. It's just basically it's being a friend to the person and seeing what they need. It's going to be different, obviously, for every person that you work with. Before I agreed to be a spiritual friend, I thought some of the difficulty might be that I work full-time, so there might not be enough time. As it turned out, my first spiritual friend also worked full-time, and she was cool with whatever time I could give. But I made every Thursday night for the most part, and we got together for dinners a couple times and talked on the phone, and so that really didn't turn out to be a problem at all. Another fear I had was that I don't feel like I'm a confrontational person. And I thought if I am to hold somebody accountable, that would be hard, I think, for me. But there again, as it turned out, we established trust as a friendship first. And there were times when if I'd hear something that I thought, well, maybe this is not the wisest path, I could say, I hear what you're saying, but consider this, or I agree with you on this, but maybe think about this in a different light. And that seemed to be a good way, if I was called on, to help them keep their goals. So that was a fear that I had, but it turned out to be okay. I guess the Lord can use whatever gifts we have if we give them to Him. I think the importance of building a relationship with a neighbor just has to do with that's how Jesus relates to us. I mean, it's relational. And if I am to have any impact for good, they need to be able to trust me. I need to be able to trust them. And you don't get that trust without building a relationship with that person. Some of the most impactful times that I've had with my spiritual friends, and with some of the people that they were associated with, people that just got to get to know because of eating dinner with them or being in class with them, is seeing their growth. They would come into the program very quiet sometimes, sitting in the back of the room, not smiling a lot. And as they got more comfortable, you could start to see their gifts emerge. And I think by after a while, you could see how their gifts were impacting everybody else as well. So that was really neat to see how they could grow and impact others for good. One of the first things that I remember with my first spiritual friend, who has an incredible servant heart, there were a couple months into the first class, and she called me one day and said, "Marie, we need to take Christmas presents to somebody." And so we did. She did the shopping. We both kicked in some money, and we got in the car and took Christmas presents to somebody way out in the county. And I don't know that I would have done that if she had initiated that. That was all her gift. Another thing that's been really special is with one of my spiritual friends. There was a break with her daughter and her 3 grandkids, where the daughter pulled all of them out of her life, and it was devastating to my friend, of course, because she'd been very close to them. We prayed for that situation probably for 3 years, and within the last year, the relationship has been completely restored, and she says better than it ever was before. So it was pretty neat to be part of that kind of a prayer request. I have probably changed through these relationships with the neighbors by being inspired by their gratitude, by their grit and perseverance. It's incredible what some of them persevere through with a smile on their face. And we've had neighbors, I've talked to neighbors who would call in and say, "I need something," but are very careful not to take any more than they need because they don't want to take more than they should. So that's been inspiring. It has also revealed to me, I think, my own poverty. I may not be poor financially, but there's other areas of my life where I'm weak and I need Jesus to be strong in. And sometimes their poverty is, maybe it's not financial, but it's relational, and you just realize we're all weak in some areas, and we're all the same in Jesus' eyes. I think that's the biggest thing. I think it would be a wise investment to give to Love Inc., partly because of Jesus' words that the 2 greatest commandments are love the Lord your God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. That's a real big one. The other part of it, I kind of see as an analogy. We get to be co-workers with the Lord. It's kind of like, I get to pack my lunch, put on my gear, clock in, and be a co-worker with the Lord, see how he impacts situations, see his love for people. That's a privilege that we get to do that kind of work with him. So, I can't imagine there being much more important things to invest in. We see the change in people's lives, so we know that it's working.